So here's a quick primer on cleansing your crystals. So it depends on what type of crystal you have. So let's run down the sheet that I gave most of you. If you don't have it, I have extra so I can go through it all. So everybody got a clear quartz in their bag. So the clear quartz looks like the long pieces here. And then everybody got also a black tourmaline. So you all got a black tourmaline, which was the long piece here. You also got a rose quartz, which some of yours looks like a heart, like that. It's very light and faint, or it was a small piece, smaller than this, but this is very light pink. So out of all of these crystals in the sheet that I made for you and in the book, it talks about lots of different kinds in the back, and what their uses are for. You don't need to go crazy necessarily. The three basics are really all you need, which again, you did get in your kit. You got a clear quartz, which is for everything, everyday use, and works with every type of energy. And what clear quartz does is it clears and supports positive energy and strength. Rose quartz supports all types of love, and I'll talk a little bit more about that when we do the heart chakra. And then black tourmaline is very protective and grounding. That keeps negativity at bay. But there are other ones like smoky quartz. I think I have one that's really smoky. They're either really dark and smoky like this. I'll put that up there. Or they're a little bit less, and I might not have one here. Yes, I do have one. See how a little bit less that is, less dark, but that's smoky quartz. And that's the crystal the author uses the best. Okay. The next one is citrine, and we'll talk more about citrine this week with the solar plexus. But this is, it promotes prosperity and self-esteem. So this is a beautiful yellow citrine. And if you look, I'll talk a little bit more about it. I have it in my abalone shell, and I have it in the southwest corner of my entrance coming in. And I'll talk more about placement of specific stones if you're interested. But I usually have this in the sunshine, in the window, in the southwest corner of my entrance door. Rose quartz we talked about. Amethyst. A lot of people get this as a basic stone, and it's really great for guidance and spiritual development and your intuition and your self-knowledge. And so amethyst comes in many forms. I think I mentioned this before. I like the raw forms. And this actually is a cluster, a raw cluster form. So that's amethyst. Black tourmaline. You all got black tourmaline. This is a big piece of tourmaline. And as you can see, it's got ridges. It's very fragile. It breaks apart. Never, like if this top layer breaks apart, don't throw the black pieces away. Put them in a plant around your house, or save them. So usually if I keep all my crystals in a basket, I get on the bottom, I get little black tourmaline pieces. Here's another black tourmaline. They are very fragile. See, one just broke off a piece in my hand. They see like that. So save those pieces and put them in a plant. Black tourmaline you all got, because it's really good for grounding and absorbing negative energy. There are other negative energy absorbers that I have, but I'm going to table that for another time. Rainbow fluorite. If I can find my rainbow fluorite. That's hard to find. I will say I stumbled upon it in a crystal shop. So obviously it's rainbow colored. But rainbow fluorite is, I rarely use this. But it is a beautiful stone. And that deepens intuition and clear communication. Carnelian helps you set boundaries, have integrity, and be creative. Carnelian comes in many forms. It comes polished and it comes raw. So I'm going to try to find, I think I have one of each and I can't find the other one. So these are good enough. So this is a polished carnelian. Good for sacral. We talked about that last weekend. And then here's a piece of raw carnelian. Okay. Hematite, interesting stone, interesting crystal for that I gave you to have or look into getting. I mean, you don't have to get these 10. I've got different ones, obviously, and I'll talk a little bit more about reputable crystal sellers and how to find authentic crystals. And you really do use your intuition. But this is hematite. It's got the silver sheen to it. Hematite also is protecting, grounding, attracts energies that you'll like and need for your life. So hematite is kind of a root chakra as well. I showed this, I think, to you for the root chakra. And then turquoise. So we don't live in an area where it's abundant. I know it's abundant in New Mexico, and there's a lot of fake pieces of turquoise out there, so be very careful. But turquoise is really good for the throat chakra, and we're going to talk about that. But it promotes luck, prosperity, and personal power. So those are the 10 workhorses that if you're interested in, make sure you go to a reputable crystal shop or crystal dealer. I'm also going to talk briefly, because I said I would, about cleansing your crystals. There's a couple of different ways, and I'm going to go through 2 ways. One is with brown rice. So I always have brown rice in the house, and it's super simple. Brown rice tends to be good for clearing, if you leave it for a 24-hour period, any crystals. So especially the ones that absorb negativity, like the black tourmaline. And the black tourmaline, again, I said, is so fragile, it breaks off into pieces. In fact, there's some pieces of black tourmaline. You want to submerge it in some brown rice, never get it wet, and just let it sit there, covered in the brown rice. I might need a little more, for 24 hours. Okay, that's one way. And you want to do that specifically for crystals that are really sensitive and shouldn't ever get wet. And your book talks a little bit about that, but I use this method pretty much with all of my crystals, and I let them sit on the counter in these little cups and bowls overnight for a 24-hour period. I prefer this method because, like I said, the rice absorbs and purifies, and then I could just toss the rice away. I wouldn't recommend saving that rice. But I prefer that way because it does preserve your crystals a lot longer without getting them wet. Another way is for sea salt, organic sea salt. I take a little bit of a spoonful of that. And then I use sea salt with warm water for more of my polished stones that could possibly soak because they are protected and polished. So I'd fill this up with water. I guess I need to do that. It doesn't matter, warm water, cold water, it doesn't really matter. and then I just plop it in there and leave that for 24 hours. Okay, but again, the difference between these two methods is this is good for all crystals, and this is only good for crystals that have been polished or finished. And you want to make sure you get organic sea salt and not the Himalayan pink sea salt or any other kind of sea salt. There are other methods, some for cleansing. Some say you can just bury them into Mother Earth. The problem is that sometimes you forget where you buried them. So, but Mother Earth is in sitting them outside. I do that a lot as well. And then after a 24-hour period, just go dig them up. So that's a little bit about cleansing. I'll talk more about charging in class.